Welcome to HTC's Ignitionweb tutorials. Today, we are going to learn about managing website administrators and privileges using Ignitionweb's Administrator Manager. Administrator Manager is a customizable core module within the Ignitionweb platform designed to manage a website's administrators and administrative privileges, add or remove administrators, grant or restrict administrative privileges, all with this easy-to-use manager. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to be walking through the process of adding administrators and selecting their privileges using WOW, the Ignitionweb demo site. Let's begin by logging into Ignitionweb and clicking on Administrator Manager. This will bring me to the administrator listing for my site. All the Ignitionweb users for a website are listed as administrators in the administrator listing. Not all administrators need to have equal access to Ignitionweb's functions and managers, however, and limiting the access of Administrator Manager to high-level personnel is a good practice for preventing potential abuses and mistakes. I am a full access administrator, meaning that I have full access to all Ignitionweb managers and have complete administrative privileges throughout the platform. When I add a new administrator, I will have the option of limiting their access and privileges. Let's add an administrator and get a better understanding of the role that privileges play in your website's administration. To give you an example of an administrative profile with limited access and privileges, I am going to create a new administrator who is limited to using only specific functions within Mailing List Manager. Perhaps the administrator is a new employee in the marketing division of my company, and I only want the person to access Mailing List Manager for marketing-related tasks. Let's move through the Add an Administrator form and learn how to limit this new administrator profile. The first step in adding an administrator is to create a username. Every administrator must have a username, and every username must be a valid email address. Next, I will supply a password for my new administrator. This password must be at least 4 characters. Next, I select a language preference for my new administrator. This will determine the language used in the Ignitionweb platform when the administrator logs in. I'll select English. Before selecting privileges, the last step is to specify the user's personal profile, which usually consists of their first and last name only. Next, we can define the administrative privileges and access that we want to grant to our new administrator. First, I'll give my administrator full access to Mailing List Manager by clicking Full Access beside Mailing List Manager. Because this administrator is new to Ignitionweb, I may want to remove certain privileges within Mailing List Manager to protect the administrator from making irreversible mistakes. In the drop-down of privileges for Mailing List Manager, I will remove the ability to delete campaigns and templates. When I'm done defining privileges, I click Submit to save my new administrator profile to the administrative listing. As you can see, our new administrator is now present in the administrator listing. I'm going to log out of my account and sign in to the one I just created so that we can see the impact of limiting an administrator's privileges. I am now logged in to my new administrator account that has access limited to Mailing List Manager. Only Mailing List Manager is displayed in the Ignitionweb main menu. This arrangement is great for new employees or inexperienced Ignitionweb users who have a limited administrative role. The interface is free of distractions and the platform is tailored down to a few specific functions. Now let's go back to my account and edit this administrator's privileges to give them a little more access. We are now logged back into my profile where I have clicked on Edit beside our new administrator's listing. This time, we will provide full access to the new administrator so that we can see how it impacts his administrative capability. To add full access to all managers, simply click all the full access buttons in the Privileges Access section. Now, I will submit the edited profile and log back into our new administrator's profile so that we can see how the Ignitionweb interface has changed. Back in our new administrator's profile, we can see that the interface has vastly expanded and now displays the entire suite of Ignitionweb managers. Note that because Administrator Manager has been enabled, the administrator has the power to edit privileges and delete other administrators. For this reason, it is best to limit access to Administrator Manager to a few employees or Ignitionweb users. Now that you know how to add and delete administrators and enable or limit their privileges, you are capable of being one of your site's most valuable administrators. That concludes this tutorial for Ignitionweb's Administrator Manager. We hope that you have learned a lot and encourage you to check out HTC's other video tutorials so that you can become an Ignition Web master.